Good day, people. It's me, Wendy Lee, bringing you the video of what happens in high conflict divorce situations and how it relates to the child. For the purposes of this video, we're not going to talk about those marriages that are able to work it out. Even if you're divorced, you're able to work it out for the kids. I commend you all very, very, very much. That's optimal. The reasons I divorced were because of the fact that it wasn't a marriage. There was no him and I. It was him, I, and others. So I wanted to discuss that a little bit. But my main concern is the child or the children that are at the center of this. I'm going to set up a hypothetical situation. We've got Mary, who is the mom. We have John, who is the father. And we're going to say there's a little boy involved, Sam. Okay, so Mary and John get divorced. Okay, they just can't get along. John has been pretty much bashed left, right, and center. He can't do anything right. Everything he does is wrong. Mary she's upset that when John is off from work, he's not immediately home. And she gives him a set time that, in her mind, that's reasonable for him to get home. And when John doesn't get home at that time, Mary goes about accusing him of having an affair. To the point that at one point, when they went out with a couple from John's work, Mary got very jealous and was very rude during the meal. And she called herself a cab and she left and told John, don't bother to come home. Well, John didn't come home. His co-workers were nice enough to offer him a place on their couch. And while he was there, he kept getting text from Mary continuing the argument. Well, he realized he wasn't going to get sleep, so he went home. Now, in going home, they woke up little Sam, his son. And Sam overhears Mom and Dad arguing, and Mom's calling Dad every name in the book. It's not unusual for Sam to see this. In fact, Mom and Dad have been fighting for quite some time. So Mom decides she wants a divorce. And she tells that to John, who says, we married and we said forever, and I think that we should try to work this out. And Mary doesn't want to work it out. She's set in her ways that she does not want to make this marriage work. Well, there's not much you can do in that point. You go and you wind up divorced. Well, now, while they're separating and going through their separation and their divorce, the judge decides for them that the child will be coming every other weekend and having dinners every Wednesday with Dad, but will be primarily with the mother. And the judge orders something called joint custody. Now, joint custody sounds like shared custody, but it is not. Joint custody means both parties have a say in how to raise the child. Any decision making for the child is to be run by both parents, and they're supposed to discuss it and come to these decisions for the child. Well, as you can understand in this situation, they can't discuss anything. John has come to the conclusion that, you know what, okay, it's a divorce, it's over, you know, I'm just going to do the best that I can. And he looks forward to seeing his son, Sam. Well, Sam starts to not come every time, and Wednesdays roll around for dinner, and, you know, he gets a text from Mary saying Sam doesn't want to come. And, you know, won't provide much more of an explanation. Sam doesn't want to come. Well, because John does not know the law, he says, okay. Well, it becomes more frequent, and suddenly weekends, every other weekend, he's not seeing his child. And it becomes habitual to the point that John is becoming very, very depressed and very upset and missing his son. And when he does talk to the son is very sullen. He is very argumentative. He calls his father names. He decides that he will close himself off in a separate room and not have anything to do with the father. And this happens and goes on into the child's adolescence. Now you have friends, right? The child has friends. And John understands that Sam has friends, and not wanting to make waves, he is fine with Sam going to see his friends. Problem is he's not hearing from Sam. He's hearing from the mother, from Mary, all the time that Sam doesn't want to come. And when he questions Mary about it and says, you know, what's going on? I want to talk to Sam. Mary goes off on a tangent, screaming and yelling and name calling, and says, well, you know, you are hurting Sam. You're causing Sam problems. You're making him very upset. It's all your fault. Still, John does not consult an attorney. It cost him a lot the last time. He doesn't want to cause any more problems because it always costs him a lot more money. So when he does talk to Sam, he doesn't raise the issue because he doesn't want to upset Sam. Well, as time goes on, Sam moves on. He grows up. And Sam doesn't have a girlfriend. And he doesn't talk about having girlfriends. And he doesn't talk about going out with his friends. So he asks Sam, what have you been doing? Well, I'm busy, Dad. I have work. I have school. And I have to go home and take care of Mom because she's been sick. How's your mom been sick? Well, she's in a lot of pain. Dad, every time I come home, she's always in pain. Okay. So John reaches out to Mary and says, what's going on? And he gets the usual barrage of name calling. And how dare you involve our son? What kind of a parent involves their son? So John can't win. And as time goes on, John meets somebody and he falls in love and he gets married. And through that time, he's been trying to involve Sam in his life. And Sam is coming over every so often, doesn't really get to know anybody. And then years later, he asks Sam, he sits with Sam, who is now an adult, and says, you know, I want to have more of a relationship with you, and I don't know how to do that. How can we do that? And Sam says, well, you were a terrible father. You were never there for me. Mom told me you didn't want to see me because you were too busy with someone else. You know, you might think there's nothing wrong with that in telling your child that. And I'm going to tell you that it's wrong. It's called parental alienation syndrome. When you interfere in the relationship that your child has with your ex, with their biological parent, you're wrong. You're very wrong. I don't care if you're male or female, whether you're custodial or non-custodial. If you are making that child feel bad against the other parent, not only are you hurting the other parent, but you're hurting your child in a way that they may not be able to bounce back from, because they're taking your relationship and how you deal with conflict, and they're internalizing it, and that's going to play out in their private life with their future spouse. You've also got the problem where there's going to be bad feelings, and that's sad. Now I'm going to read you a little excerpt from a journal, and this one happens to be the journal of, let me just make sure I got it right, the American Journal of Family Therapy, and you can find this in their volume 38, March, April 2010, so volume 38, issue number 2, and it's between the pages of 76 and 187. And the authors, William Bernet, Wilfred von Boch-Galhau, Amy J. L. Baker, and Stephen L. Morrison are the authors of this. They define parental alienation syndrome as a mental condition in which a child, usually one whose parents were engaged in a high conflict divorce, allies himself or herself strongly with one parent, the preferred parent, in this case it would be Mary, and rejects a relationship with the other parent, the alienated parent, in this case John, without legitimate justification. Nothing happened to cause this alienation between them except for Mary. This process leads to a tragic outcome when the child and the alienated parent, who previously had a loving and mutually satisfying relationship, lose the nurture and joy of that relationship for many years and perhaps for their lifetimes. They go on to say the child's behavior is maladaptive and drives the child, who falsely believes the alienated parent is dangerous or untrustworthy. Guys, this is preventable. This is highly preventable, which is why Salima and I have a business. Okay, we want to work with parents to prevent this from happening. No parent sets out to want their child to fail. I can't believe that a child would be used in such a way by a parent. I know I don't see eye to eye with my children. We have varying differences of opinion on a lot of things, but I love them and I want the best for them. I want them to succeed me. I want them to be better than I ever was. One daughter turned around to me and said she wanted to be a midwife. Well, that was my dream. That was my dream, not hers. And I asked her to please look to what she wants. And her thoughts were, well, I want to make you happy. I want to make you proud of me. And I said, well, I'd be proud of you if you worked a cashier, if that's what you wanted to be. We can't run our kids' lives. We can raise them up to become responsible, to not lie, to not talk badly, to not hurt others. But we can't exactly do that while we're hurting others and calling others names and things like that. And it breaks my heart to see so many struggle, so many adolescents going through drug addiction, alcohol, and having mental illness. And this is what they wind up doing, is they have a mental illness in the end. We can be angry with our exes, but we cannot involve the children. Those children are half of both of us. And if you're saying the other parent is bad, you're saying half that child is bad. It's not fair to a child. If you hate your ex, that's fine. It's your prerogative. You want to hate your ex, hate your ex. But you're going to have to work with your ex to create a perfect parenting situation for that child. You've got to set aside your animosity to benefit your child, because you love the child more than you hate the other parent. I don't know who said that, but they were right. You've got to prove that you love your child more than you hate the other parent. I hope I've given you some food for thought. If you have any questions, please reach out, message me, ask me. It's a sad situation, and it's one that is going to become very prevalent in the court system. People are already losing custody because they've put their child in that position and they can't seem to stop. If you're one of these parents, reach out to us. We have referrals that we can make for you to help you wherever you are in the world. We will find someone. We are immortal through our progeny. And as long as that progeny continues, be thoughtful of what your child is hearing and what they're experiencing. They're allowed to love you both. Put yourself in their shoes. If one of your parents said you can't love the other parent, you're not allowed to, how would you feel? Do you have your parents in your life? If you don't, I'm sorry. I really am. It must be terrible. But don't deny your children that fact. Don't deny them the love of both parents. If you feel that you are bolstering up your child, imagine how much better that child would be if the other parent was permitted to be in that child's life, to bolster them too. Be well. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. Salima and I, we're going to be here